back, my little nightmares, me, Queen Nightmare, and I'm going to be doing the Snarry love story. I just want to let you know that, I don't know if it's going to be done by Friday, but it's definitely going to probably be this weekend, or maybe, that, my video comes out with the special person that is coming to, be in it. But it's going to sound kind of weird because I am going to be recording it on my computer. Now, saying this, yeah, like good luck with me, right? It's going to sound a little bit weird, and the other person you might not be able to hear. But I am going to try my best. So if I miss something from my audio, I will ask them to, I'll put, a word that they said. Or if you need subtitles, I will put them up. And that's going to probably take me another week or so. So, saying that, just hang on. That's pretty much it. Just hang in there. I hope you enjoy it. But I can't guarantee. It's called, this is called Embarrassment. And this is chapter 16, if I'm correct. No, 15. I'm so confused. Darn it. No, the other one was 15. This one... No. Technical difficulties. I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm back. There were some technical difficulties. The reason why I'm so messed up is that I was reading Dreary right before this, and it gets saucy. I guarantee you will like it, but it gets... I thought I had to put it up on another website, if you know what I mean. Woof. That's it just that's why it's my ads are limited on it, but it didn't get that far, if you know what I mean. Anyways, chapter 8. Dessert time and bedtime talk. Oh, I might get even more saucy. Great. My day's doing fun. Pretty good. Dessert has been served in the dining room, Severus announced, and walked over to the dining/kitchen room with Harry close behind and the rest after him. Severus entered the room and his eyebrows shot up into his hair. He walked over to the other end of the table, took a seat with Harry. Sitting next to him, Draco and James, across from them, Pansy and Blaise, sat on Harry's side, while Theodore, Crabbe and Goyle sat on Draco's side of the table. "Did you do this, Harry?" Draco whispered in shock, his mouth hanging open as he took in his favorite dish of all time. Yes, I did," Harry whispered before picking up his spoon and scooping some chocolate over covered strawberry, some chocolate covering the strawberry onto his spoon. "Holy shit, this is amazing," yelled Crabbe and Goyle at the same time. Everyone chuckled and no more was said as they all enjoyed their dessert. That was so good. Did you make anything else, Harry?" James asked enthusiastically. "I can make a lot of dishes, not just desserts." Harry blushed and looked down at his empty bowl. Flickering his wrist, he banished all the empty bowls. "I can make anything as long as I know the recipe. or if I have it in front of me." "Wow," Theodore said sarcastically. "How impressive. I'm such a big fan now. OMG. I can't believe the chosen one made me food." Crabbe and Goyle were the only ones laughing. Everyone else were either ignoring him or glaring at him. "I would watch your tongue, not." Severus threw across the table in his teaching voice. "I am your head of house. I can make a detention happen at the click of... with just a snap of my fingers." "Whatever," Theodore mumbled, as everyone got up from the table. Severus let it pass and shepherded the group of young adults to the front door. Before he opened it up, he had a few words to give the group. "I have about an hour and a half before 10 o'clock p.m. curfew-wise. You should all get a good night's rest." Severus spoke in a firm, flat tone. Now, us Slytherins stick together. Do we not?" Severus's gaze swept across the group as they all nodded. "Harry is going to be resorted into Slytherin, hopefully tomorrow. So I am requesting that all of you make him feel welcomed. I have a feeling majority of you would gladly make him feel welcomed to the Slytherin house family." Severus locked eyes with Theodore and narrowed his eyes a little more. Moving on his gaze wandered over his Slytherins before it came to Harry. "You may go. Harry, you should go with them. Make sure he settles in all right." Severus opened the door, and everyone started to exit, all but Harry. "I'll see you tomorrow?" Harry asked quietly, as he took a step closer and hugged his mate. Yes, you will, Harry." Severus spoke back softly, as he held his young vampire in his arms. I will ask Dumbledore to resort you before all the students enter the hall for breakfast. You will most likely be approached by him, and he will take you up to his office to be resorted." Well, I will see you tomorrow. See you soon." Harry went up on his tippy toes so he could reach Severus's lips, and gave him a small peck. Before. Oh, hell no. Oh my gosh. My principal sent me a friend request on Facebook. Oh. Shoot me, please. Oh. Yes, the notification just... Yeah, I'm not getting a notification on here because I don't have Facebook on my phone. But now I do on my computer. Damn it. Okay. Sweet mother. Severus's lips and gave him a small peck before stepping back and moved out the door, where all the Slytherins were waiting. Bye. Good night, Harry. Severus whispered before shutting the door. All right, time to get back to the common room. I thought he said cinnamon room. I was like, yay, cinnamon buns. I love it. But no, it's common room. Sorry, I can read. And get ready for bed, Draco said as he wrapped his arms around James' shoulders and led the group. Harry stuck to the back of the group as they made their way back to the Slytherin common room. The group chatted about Quidditch and on the way, but Harry didn't join in because he wasn't into it as much as he had been previously. Don't get him wrong. Get him wrong. He would still play it, but only if it was friendly. If it was a friendly match, not a competition. And he wouldn't play for the school house cup competition because he couldn't give a flying duck who wins or loses that anymore. That actually says duck. It's not me censoring it. It actually says flying duck. And you know what? I'm going to say that now. I'm going to say duck. That's what I'm going to do. What can you say? War changes people. Oh yeah, it's after the war. Cool. I forgot. Duckling pudding, Draco said as he stopped outside a wall that was obviously the entrance to the common room. He could tell this one apart from the rest if you paid close attention to the walls. This wall, for example, had little tiny golden flecks on some of the stones. They all had at least a few chips in them to make them super sharp. So if you were to run your hand on them, there is a slight chance you would cut yourself. So like fiberglass. I hate fiberglass because you would cut yourself because it's invisible cuts all over because you don't know it's like splinters. And it's, sorry, I hit myself in the cheek, but whatever. The ooh was for the thing, but I slapped myself in the face. You didn't hear it because... The wall parted in half and the group entered. Harry's jaw dropped to the ground. This common room was amazing. The first thing that drew Harry's attention was the huge floor-to-ceiling window that showed the lake and the cushioned ledge that would make a relaxing place to sit and think. All around the large area were tables and chairs filled with Slytherins and their homework set up in front of them. There was lots of room to sit with your friends and chat, or play a game of wizard chess, or exploding snap if all the tables were filled as well. Exploding snap. Never heard of that. I don't remember that in the movies. Maybe it's only in the book. Then again, I haven't watched the movies for over 4 years. There was also 3 nice, healthy-sized bookcases that sat in between the door and the fireplace, on the left side of the room. Period. The next thing was the 2 fireplaces on each side of the circular room. A silver rug was set up. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when. I had the urge to, and I was like, not coming yet, but oh well. In front of the fires, and one 3-seater couch, plus 2 double-seater chairs surrounded the fires and rugs. To go along nicely with the silver rugs, the whole space of the floor was covered in green carpet, adding to the Slytherin feeling. But to make it even more like Slytherin, there was a huge portrait of Salazar Slytherin and his pet familiar next to the fireplace on the right side of the room. This place is amazing, Harry said, eyes glued to the portrait. Does he talk? Yes, he does. But we will introduce you to Sal tomorrow, Pansy said, hands on hips and using her authority voice. But for now, we're going up to get ready for bed. It is getting a bit late, I suppose. Night, guys. And with that, Pansy was heading up the staircase that had a sign of a girl above the entrance. The boys started talking as they moved over to the fireplace that had Salazar Slytherin's portrait. As Harry took a place on the silver carpet, he noticed that the snake was following him with little purple eyes. And by the way, a little known fact, I didn't know this until I read a little bit about it, but because not Draco, friggin' A, Harry, wasn't attached to, what's his face anymore? Voldemort. He couldn't hear or understand snakes again, that's what I've heard. So this part is inaccurate from the story, but I just wanted to tell you that because a lot of people are like, wait a minute, he can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So this is it. He noticed that the snake was following him with little purple eyes. Purple eyes. That had to be one of the rare types of snakes that only had a few left in the world. Looky, what do we have here, master? A Gryffindor, the snake hissed I'm making it have a weird voice because then you know it's the snake talking, and then I'll do Salazar as a posh Brit. Don't know why I said Brit. I was trying to say posh, and then when I thought of posh, I thought of like so many Britain movies where like there's so many posh people. And when you think of posh, you don't think of American or anything else except Brit. For me, and I'm just, sorry. I had to explain that. The snake hissed as it wrapped around Salazar's arm. My. What has the Slytherin house come to? Why does such disgrace have to litter our carpets? Salazar hissed back to his familiar, a look of utter disgust and disappointment on his face. And the worst thing is that our little Drakey Poo is with him, the snake hissed, squeezing Salazar's arm before sliding up. I'm not a Gryffindor anymore. I am being resorted into Slytherin tomorrow morning. Harry hissed back at the two in the portrait. Harry had the attention of the two in the portrait plus the group, but he chose to ignore them and focused on talking to Salazar and his snake. You are a speaker? Salazar's eyebrows rose up into his hairline. I've heard another speaker since my relative's Tom was sorted into Slytherin. You aren't his son, are you? He started to giggle. Him? The son of Tom Riddle? You wish. Draco swung his foot out and hit. What? Huh? Anyways, okay. Draco swung his foot out and hit Harry on the shoulder. I don't mean, like, are they that far away from each other that he has to use his foot? I mean, you have more swing with the arm. Yes, more weight with the foot, but with the arm, it hurts more. Because it's a, thinner objects hurt more than bigger objects, just to let you know. So that's why I'm like, huh? Ouch, Harry yelped, grabbing his shoulder and rubbing it where it was sore. No matter what, if you poke me hard, I get sore immediately, and it hurts. I don't understand that. I think it's just my skin just being sensitive. Sorry, I didn't mean to do it that hard. Maybe if you would shut up, I wouldn't have to do that. Draco was sarcastic. Everyone laughed, even Harry, and went back to their conversation while Harry turned back to Salazar. No way in hell would I ever want to be his son. Harry snorted again. He's the one that killed my parents, attempted to kill me, make my life hell. He made me live with my abusive family, and then proceeded to go after me at the end of of my school years. No, I'm definitely not his son. I knew he was rotten. I knew he was rotten, the snake hissed, sticking his head in the air and flicking his purple tongue. Never should have trusted him, Salazar. I realize that now, after he killed that girl. Salazar shook his head in disappointment. Moaning Myrtle, the ghost in the girl's bathroom on the 3rd floor, right? Harry asked, cocking his head to the side. She told me about how she died. Yes, poor little girl. Salazar shook his head again. The worst thing is, she was a mudblood. If it wasn't bad enough, he killed a mudblood. The snake lifted his head from Salazar's shoulder and stared at Harry in the eye. From that point on, everyone who was in Slytherin have thought we have always hated mudbloods. Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe it's not in canon, but I mean, if you think about it, it does make sense. And then they get the reputation of, because Tom Riddle is probably 60s, if we're being honest, maybe. I don't remember his exact age, but, because then it would understand why Draco was raised that way, why Lucius was raised that way, because they had to live up to the reputation. I'm sorry, I'm thinking too deep into this, sorry. I'll go back. Harry looked around his little group of new friends, wondering if they knew what he had just learned. His eyes stopped on Draco. He had, of course, called Hermione a mudblood in 2nd year. Do they know about Slytherin not always hating mudbloods? Harry asked, needing to know the answer. Yes, they know. Salazar smirked, while nodding his head. It was in their 2nd year, I reckon. He told me that he called this girl Granger or something? Granger. Her name is Hermione Granger. She used to be my friend, Harry told them, speaking to the carpet. He still felt hurt after what they had did to him. I'm sorry she isn't anymore. Yeah, well, after Draco had told me about what he had called her, I informed them about how back in my generation we didn't hate them or dislike them. We encouraged them and helped them because we made them stay away from their families to protect our culture. I also explained how my wife was a mudblood. So Salazar smirked again. Ha! You should have seen their faces when I told them that. Harry giggled, imagining that the Slytherins would have looked like after being told that. We're going to bed now, Harry. I don't know where that accent came from, Blaise said, standing up and walking up to the portrait. Saying goodnight to Salazar in English, he then walked across the room and down the other staircase. Everyone got up and stretched and repeated the same process. Harry also stood with them and turned back to Salazar. I will have a talk to you more tomorrow. Good night, Harry said in English, as he turned and walked over to the staircase that had a boy sign on top of it. Following the others, he passed 7 doors on the way down until he entered the last door, to find a suspicious room filled with beds, nightstands, trunks, and wardrobes. Harry walked over to the only bed that didn't have a trunk. At the end of it, didn't have a trunk. At the end of it, and flopped face down onto the mattress. Bit tired, are you, Harry? Draco questioned, and everyone laughed as Harry threw a pillow at him. Why does he have to sleep next to me? Theodore whined as he got into bed with his fresh PJs on. First of all, I'm not always sleeping here. I'll be with my mate," Harry growled, sitting up in bed and faced Theodore. "He only wanted me to get used to the Slytherin way and its environment. Second of all, what is your problem with me?" Everyone stopped and stared at the arguing pair. Sorry. Most of them were in their beds by now. Draco and James in the same one. I'm guessing they're sharing a bed because either that they're dating or they have to scooch into one because one doesn't want to sleep on the empty bed. Anyways, my problem with you is that you didn't deserve my auntie. You left her to die, only took Ollivander and the goblin from Gringotts. Theodore yelled, tears forming from his eyes. I didn't know she was there. Plus, we only had one elf trying to get us all out. I didn't even see another person in there, Harry said softly, looking down at his shaking hands. Had he let someone die because he was trying to get those two out of the prison cell? What? I am so confused. I am confuzzled. I don't remember this. Prison. Nope, don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But then again, it's been 4 years. Had he yeah. How could he? A red tear ran down his cheek and fell onto his clasped hands. I would have saved her. I would have. I just didn't see her at all, Harry cried out, clasping in on himself, gripping his hair tightly. Yeah, I'm gonna say this, Theodore, fuck off. Basically saying, I'm sorry, but seriously, I mean, I know that you lost your thing, but you have to look at the big picture here. Yes, he's like the savior and all, but once you started to get to know him, he's not like what you thought he was. Harry felt the bed go down on both sides of him, and an arm rubbed his back. He didn't need to look up to know it was Theodore on one side and Blaise on the other. Brain, shut up. Don't think that. It's like, ooh. Crying sex? No, I'm kidding. On one side and Blaise on the other. He had a good sense of smell then. His smell now. I'm sorry. Harry repeated over and over again into his hands. Stop, Harry. I realize now that you would have saved her. I believe you. I just thought you knew. You left her to die. Bitch, he didn't even know you. He didn't even know your aunt. Like, why would he purposely kill her if he... You know what? Screw it. I don't know anymore. And it's pissing me off. Theodore pulled Harry into a hug and rubbed his back. Harry clung on to him and dried his tears with the back of his hand. I'm also sorry, Harry. I'm sorry for the way I was treating you. It was not your fault. It was not fair of me, Theodore whispered, tightening his grip slightly as he could emphasize his point of being remorse. Stop the sobs. Get your mother duckling butts back into your own beds, Draco yelled from his own bed with James giggling and slightly slapping him on the arm. Theodore and Blaise hugged Harry and walked back to their own beds, which were both on either side of Harry's. Good. Now let's get some sleep, Draco said, What, aren't you the mother duckling? Like, seriously, like, are you the mother duck here? Mother, Draco said, and turned off the lights. Harry slipped in under his cup. Wait, am I still? Yeah, okay. I was making sure I've done that before. I've stopped my recording and then read a whole chapter, a long one like this one, and commentated on it, and then I found out I didn't record it, and then I felt okay. Harry slipped in under his covers after toeing off his shoes. Toeing sounds familiar, but not in that sense. But okay. He realized he was still in his day clothes, so he focused his mind on a fresh pair of boxers and a singlet. A second later, Harry was in his boxers and a singlet that he would normally wear at night. Getting comfortable in his bed, he tossed and turned for a while. His mind was going through the entire happenings of today, from waking up to becoming friends with Draco, to fighting with Weasley, to finding his mate, to talking to Salazar and his snake, to talking to Theodore. Eventually, Harry's mind went silent, and Harry found himself sleeping as peacefully as his life allows him to sleep. Not once in his dreams did he come across his mom or dad. He dreamt about finally having some friends and family. Aw, that's so sweet. Author's note. What's up? New chapter here for you. I wrote 2,567 words in this chapter. Happy? So we finally found out Theodore's issues. Look, like always, comment, vote, and follow me for updates on any stories I put out in the future. Please. Okay. So, I don't get it why he thought that he did it on purpose. Like, I mean, yeah, you're angry, but I'm so confused, But chapter 9, Henry and resorted. Okay, who's Henry? Why does that name sound familiar from another series? Or is it this series? Harry woke up around 5 a.m. He looked around the room and saw all the boys sleeping peacefully. Harry flopped backwards on his bed and sighed heavily. Soft snores were heard from every bed. Wait, what? Oh, okay. I didn't know what I was hearing. Soft snores were heard from every bed in the room apart from Harry's because he was awake. Thinking this would be the perfect opportunity, Harry sat up, closed the curtains surrounding his bed, casting a silencing spell around the bed, and summoned his little duck that he left with the house elves. Quack, quack! The baby duckling immediately started chirping as soon as he saw Harry. Hello, Henry. Harry smiled down at his little baby duck. How are you this morning? Did they talk about Henry ever? Or is this our first ever display of him having a duck and whatever? I don't remember this at all. But anyways, how are you this morning? Of course, all he got for an answer was chirping. But that was okay because Henry seemed to adore Harry. So Harry treated him like his baby that couldn't talk. You hungry? Harry asked, running his fingers over the yellow fluff ball of a body. Harry summoned a little dish full of lettuce, cut weeds, and grass. He placed the bowl of greens down on the bed, and Henry waddled over to them. He took one bite before waddling away again. I keep forgetting, you don't eat your greens without it being wet. Harry flicked his wrist, and the little bowl was drenched in water. Harry placed Henry back next to the food. This time, Harry ate the wet greens. There's too many H's. Henry ate the wet greens. Harry smiled and pet Henry's yellow fur. Quack, quack, Henry chirped. As he finished the last bite, he waddled back over to Harry and sat down on his lap. You can only stay for a little longer before I get up and start my day. Harry spoke softly, watching as Henry's eyes slowly started to close the longer he petted him. Henry gave one last chirp before he fell asleep on Harry's lap. He smiled and continued to pet him for a few minutes before he sent Henry back and got up and out of bed. Harry removed the charm and moved the curtains back. He stretched his arms and legs as soon as he stood up and walked over to the door that had the toilet sign on it. After he relieved himself, showered, and brushed his teeth, Harry walked back out and sat on his bed to find that all the boys had started to wake up and were chatting as they gathered their toiletries. "Morning, Harry," Draco said, walking past him. "Good sleep?" "It was okay. At least I got sleep. I don't normally sleep for a week after Halloween," Harry said, rubbing his neck and sighing. Even with all the sleep he got, he was still exhausted from all the new changes he was going through. Maybe that was why he was sleeping so good. Draco nodded and went into the bathroom. He was shortly followed by the rest of the boys. Harry flopped back onto his back and waited for everyone to get ready. He was a bit hungry and had noticed a bit of red in his green eyes before when he looked in the mirror while he was brushing his teeth. It took about 20 minutes for everyone to finish getting ready. They moved their way up to the common room. There they met Pansy and a few other girls before they started on their way to go get breakfast. Because it was Sunday morning, most students usually slept in late before going to breakfast. So it was no surprise that Harry and his friends were the first people there. As soon as Harry sat down at the table, the plate and cutlery disappeared and the goblet full of red liquid took its place. Harry's stomach grumbled as he waited for everyone else to be seated and had dishes themselves up, found before he drunk his meal. "You don't have to wait for us, Harry," Blaise whispered next to him, plating up a healthy quantity of fruit. "You should probably start drinking before anyone else sees the red in your eyes." Blaise and Harry chucked. Is it chuckled or chucked? Because there's difference. Before he's chuckled. Okay, it's chuckled, and he scuttled, or he just drank the whole goblet in 5 seconds. Placing the goblet on the table, moving at the teacher's table, caught his attention. It turned out that Dumbledore was sitting down at his spot in the middle of the table next to Severus. Harry's eyes locked with Severus for a second. The man ran a finger from the left corner of his lips to his chin before turning to the headmaster. Harry, getting the message, wiped the blood off his face and turned his ear into the conversation up there, while fixing his gaze on the far wall opposite of him. "Good morning, my boy," Dumbledore said, way too cheerful for this time of morning. "I presume you didn't get much sleep?" he asked with a sparkle in his eye. "Good morning to you too," Severus replied in a flat tone. "You presume correct. I was too busy researching last night than to sleep, like all the dunderheads do. The little dunderheads do," he said with a snarl on his face. "Oh, I also presume a certain person hasn't had their morning coffee yet." Dumbledore's voice rose with every word in a sickly, high-pitched, cheery tone. Dang, I did it well without even looking at the next sentence. He snapped his fingers and a cup of coffee appeared in front of Severus. "Now, I think we would be the best time to ask the question on your mind." Dumbledore spoke quietly as Severus sipped on his coffee, but Harry had still hear him with his super hearing. "Yes. Harry has requested a resort." Severus's voice sounded smug, and with a quick flick of Harry's gaze, he saw that Severus was indeed smirking. Uh-oh. No! "And why does he want to be resorted?" Posh, but at the same time, just duh. "And why does he want to be resorted?" Dumbledore sounded absolutely astonished. He couldn't believe that the Golden Boy wanted to get out of Gryffindor. Surely he is making a rash decision. "No, he is certain." Severus chuckled darkly, and it sent shivers up Harry's spine. "He told me, and I quote, 'Can I actually be resorted into my house?' Well, I suppose I have to resort him then." Dumbledore sighed before tucking into some breakfast of his own. "You will collect him, and I will collect all the heads of houses to have the resort up in my office. After we have finished breakfast, of course. Since once you're done, Severus, take our little listener up to the... Ah! Damn it. Shucks, man. Hold on a second. I need to get an opinion. If she's up. I'm going to read these lines to you, okay? Mm-hmm. So, Harry has super hearing, okay? It's weird, but anyways, he wants to be resorted. So Dumbledore and Severus are talking about it, and this is what he is. "And why does he want to be resorted?" Dumbledore sounded absolutely astonished. He couldn't believe that this Golden Boy wanted to get out of Gryffindor. Surely he is making a rash decision. "No, it is certain." Severus chuckled darkly, and it shivers up Harry's spine. He's like 50, I don't know, like 100 feet away. He can't hear, like normal people can't hear them, but with his super hearing, he can hear them. "He told me, and I quote, 'Can I actually be resorted into my house?' Well, I suppose I have to resort him then," Dumbledore sighed before tucking into some breakfast of his own. "You will collect him, and I will collect all the heads of houses to have the resort up in my office. After we have finished breakfast, of course. So once you're done, Severus, take our little listener up to my office."
We know you're listening.
Yes, it is! Glancing up at the table, he saw an amused pair of sparkling blue eyes behind half-moon spectacles, and a pair of dark chocolate brown eyes with a hint of affection in the depths of them staring back at him. "Certainly, sir," Severus said, before breaking eye contact and returning to his breakfast with a smirk. Sighing, Harry ordered a refill and slowly sipped on it while he waited for his mate to be done with his food. "So what's happening?" Draco asked from beside him. I'm being resorted after all the heads of houses are finished with breakfast." Harry spoke softly. "Where will I meet you guys?" "We will wait for you in the dorm. We've decided that we are going to be heading outside for lunch." Theodore chimed in to their conversation. Always gotta be the boss of what we do on the weekend, don't you not?" Blaze laughed and threw a grape at Theodore's forehead, which resulted in Blaze having a lap full of strawberries. A fruit mess disappeared in a second later as fast, quick footsteps and a swishing sound of Severus's teacher robes approached the table. "Are you ready to go, Harry?" Severus asked in a deep, flat tone with one perfectly raised eyebrow. Nodding his head and saying a quick goodbye to everyone, Harry followed Severus out of the great hall. The two walked in silence as they walked the many halls. I think it's... I hear a vibration. I don't like it. Okay. The two walked in silence as they walked the many halls and stairs of Hogwarts. By the time Harry and Severus made it to Dumbledore's office, Harry wanted to collapse in a chair. Don't get him wrong, he wanted to collapse in a chair because he was so nervous about being resorted, not from walking all the way up there. What if the hat decided he was better off in Gryffindor? Oh, no. Remember when he said that? When you visited the office again? When he was wondering if he should be in Gryffindor household. Remember that? So he was like, and the hat said, "I stand by but my other decision. You would have been great in Slytherin." So I'm gonna say, yeah, even without Voldemort's influence or being part Voldemort, he was actually more of a Slytherin. Not in a mean way, but I mean like calculating, loyal. It was not him that was brave, it was more Hermione because she was always backing them up and whatever. And I think she's more of a Ravenclaw. And yeah, Ron's definitely the Gryffindor. Neville could be a Hufflepuff. But anyways. But he is a definite Gryffindor. "Are you going to sit down?" Severus nudged Harry softly down into a chair. "Good. I was just wondering, I could ask you a quick question before the resort." "Yes," Harry replied simply. "The other night, when I found you crying in the corridor, remember how we spoke? You said something about having something to fight for." Severus grabbed Harry's hand and gently gave it a squeeze. "I guess I was just thinking about the last time I heard a student say that. The next week, they jumped off the... Oh gosh. I'm not supposed to laugh at that. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing because Oh, I see where he's going with this. Oh my. Oh gee. Oh no. I'm not laughing like it's comedy. I'm just laughing out of disbelief. At the same time, I'm like, oh shit, that escalated quickly. Yeah, okay. Now I'm very uncomfortable because you probably thought I was actually laughing at it. Oh. The next week, they jumped off the astronomy tower. I ain't gonna lie, at least they got to see the stars. Ah, damn it. Don't think that, okay? I was trying to make it a better thing. Like they got to see the stars. The last thing, I hope that was the last thing they saw because space is beautiful, you know? I'm trying to make it, you shut up. Yeah, right. Severus stared at Harry with a bit of a ghastly expression. Obviously, he was reliving that memory. Oh, no. No, Harry said wide-eyed. No, when I said something to fight for, I meant I needed to fight to take back control of my life. To take back everything that has been stolen. Trust me, suicide will never be an option for me. Harry chuckled and glanced at Severus's face, noting the relief he saw flash into the man's eyes. How he released a breath of air he was obviously holding in. One thing that's probably helped me the most. Okay, me. One thing that's probably helped me the most is taking care of Henry, a little duckling. His mother was his mother's was injured, and I took her in. Turned out she was pregnant. I was able to keep one of the ducklings and release the others back into the wild. I keep him with the house elves most of the days, but I do like to feed him on the weekends or early in the morning, Harry said, smiling as he remembered his little yellow fluff ball. Well, I'm glad you helped out a mother duck. Lily helped a duck once when we were little. Severus smiled at his own memory. He released Harry's hand and they both sat back in their chairs. Do I have to sleep in the dorms again? Can I sleep with you? Harry asked with his best puppy dog eyes he could muster at the moment. Sure, Harry. Severus smiled before letting his face drop into a mask of seriousness. After all, no one can deny a vampire his access to his mate. True, Harry chuckled before the door opened and Dumbledore walked in, followed by the rest of the heads of houses. Conjuring 3 chairs, Dumbledore sat behind his desk after grabbing the sorting hat off the shelf to the side of the... No! Mischief managers, freaking screwed me. Okay, if you ever have seen the Mischief Managers, they do a lot of cosplay of Harry Potter. And there was this one thing. They were doing Cards Against Muggles, which I have a game of, but I don't have enough friends to play it. But someday I will. And the card was something about the sorting hat being sorted into Slytherin or something. And it was something about Peter Pettigrew. And it was I think it was Lupin who said it. Yeah. It was oh, you popped a big one in Dumbledore's office and you put the sorting hat on top of your junk and it went, ooh, Slytherin. And I was oh my gosh. Me and Lupin would get along just fine, but yeah. Sorry, I had to say that. Off the shelf to the side of the room. I have called you teachers here today to witness the resorting of Harold. His name's Harold? Since when? I'm sorry, this is the first time I actually heard of his name being Harold. Am I losing it? Because that's... Huh? Wait. I'm so confused. Resorting of Harold James Potter. Dumbledore spoke with a twinkle in his eye. Harry, you sure about this? Absolutely, Headmaster. Harry nodded his head. You can't let him do this, Albus. He's merely a boy. Doesn't know what is best for him. Minerva spoke up, letting all of them know her opinion. Wait, why is Dumbledore still alive? Okay, never mind. I probably shouldn't be asking these questions. I think it just hit me. I think I said it in the other video, but why the heck is he still alive? No offense, but I mean, like, a lot of these characters are still alive, aren't they? But wait a minute. Is Lupin still alive? Is Sirius still alive? Is the Peter Pettigrew guy still alive? Anyways, let's keep on going. Sorry, I found a hair where it was not supposed to belong. He's not a boy, Minerva. Severus sneered at the Gryffindor head of house. He's 18 years old and is a legal adult in both worlds. Yes, that is true. And even in America. So, I mean, I think America has the highest age limit. When we're known as the trashiest people in the whole world. I mean, like, if you stereotype people. Us, trash. But, I mean, some parts of the U.S., they ain't wrong, okay? There's a lot of good things in the U.S., but, I mean, Anyways, let's keep on going. Minerva set her lips into a thin line and huffed as she sat back in her chair. Harry rolled his eyes and Dumbledore stood and made his way around the desk and to stand in front of Harry. Last chance, Harry. Once you resort, you will be in the house for the rest of the year, Dumbledore said, a dull twinkle in his eye. Just put the hat on me for Merlin's sake, Harry said, tired of all the waiting to get resorted. Dumbledore stepped forward and placed the hat on top of Harry's head. There was a minute of silence before the hat spoke into his ear. So Mr. Potter has been asked to be resorted. Finally realized he would have been better in Slytherin, as I said. The hat spoke with amusement in his voice. Just please tell me if I'm in Slytherin or not. I'm sick of waiting, Harry yelled inside his mind. Better be Slytherin, the hat announced the last part out loud. Harry beamed brightly as the house hat taken off his head. He looked over to Severus and smiled. He then looked over to Dumbledore. And saw that he didn't have a twinkle in his eye anymore. Obviously, he wanted that Harry would be resorted into Gryffindor again or Ravenclaw. Yeah, he ain't a Hufflepuff, bitch. No. Harry Potter and Hufflepuff. I mean, like, he's loyal to his friends, but he ain't that laid back. I think Hufflepuffs are known to be laid back, have fun, chill. I mean, like, everyone has that, but they're, like, the best people to do it. Like, they do it all the time. They're the people that you need to help with homework. I ain't gonna lie. I think I know someone like that, but they're a Griffin Puff. No, they're the Slitherpuff. That's what they are. And they are usually on my channel. Luna. Harry beamed brightly as the hat was taken off his head. Oh, wait, blah, 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 blah. Well, it is official that Mr. Potter is now in Gryffindor. Wait, Slytherin, sorry. I can read. Dumbledore gave a fake smile and clapped his hands together, sending the hat back to the shelf. Before he went back again his desk and sitting down again. Now, Harry, some of the staff and I have a few concerns about your situation, Dumbledore said seriously. You mean how I'm now a vampire? Harry narrowed his eyes, wondering where this was going. Yes, a vampire. Why am I talking like this? Yes, a vampire. Dumbledore whispered. His eyes glazed over for a second before he snapped back to a reality. I don't know if you know this, but vampires who don't have a mate or doesn't have good access to blood supply can easily, can easily slip into their inner vampire instinct and lose complete control of their actions. If you prove to be a danger to the students' population, I am going to have to force you to remove you from the school. So please be careful of your actions. Harry. I don't want to be the bad guy now. Dumbledore spoke with a fake smile and fake concern in his voice. Harry snorted, and his green eyes narrowed as the red swirled within them. He clenched the chair, and some of the wood splintered off. His mind flickered between Vampire Harry and Harry. Why are you getting angry? I mean, if I was the vampire, I'd be like, well, no shit. I mean, like, F you. Give him the middle finger, the F you in England. Well, it's like an old English thing. The English were so good at the longbow that they were captured, I think it was the French? Yes, it was the French that captured them, and they would always, because they were so angry at the longbow, they would cut off the two fingers. One of them, or either both of them. So this, putting the peace sign backwards is pretty much an F-U in France, I think. Not in England, but whatever. Biting your thumb is pretty much an old thing for F-U in England. Why am I telling you this? It's not history class. His mind flickered from more towards the vampire. His eyes became more swarmed with red, and his nostrils flared as he stood up. He took one step forward. As he breathed in, he smelt the heavenly, indescribable scent of his mate. He stopped in his tracks and lowered his head. He took another deep breath to clear his mind, before he looked back up again, and his eyes were turned to green. Luckily, I have found my mate. I know I have a good access to blood, and with a healthy amount of blood, Harry said calmly, stepping back until his back hit the wall near the door. Luckily, my master has turned me to mostly take control of my vampire. Only those that hurt me really deeply are not safe from my vampire until I take complete control. You have nothing to fear. Fear. I don't know where that came from. Headmaster. Nothing at all. And with that, Harry swept his gaze over all the staff members and left through the door beside him. When he reached the bottom of the staircase, Harry slowly started walking towards the dungeons so that Severus could catch up with him. He heard Dumbledore tell Severus to go after him and make sure he does no damage to the student body. Also to make sure he arrives safely to his new house and get him settled in. It took no more than a minute for Harry to be walking beside his mate in a quiet walk back to the Slytherin dormitory and the common room. Once they were in the safe company of lower hallways, stairways of Hogwarts, Severus grabbed Harry's hand and pulled him closer so his shoulders bumped every few steps. Down one more staircase, turn left, turn right, walk until you find the wall, speak the password. Harry remembered the way down as it was one on the back of his hand. Being a vampire has its quirks. Severus let go of Harry's hand just before they stepped into the Slytherin common room. Everyone stopped as everyone in the common room noticed the head of house in the room.
I just want to make a quick announcement. Mr. Potter has just been resorted into Slytherin this morning. You are all to make him feel welcome. He is now part of the Slytherin family. Treat him right, or there will be punishment.
Severus said, before giving Harry one more look and leaving back through the door. How does it feel to be a Slytherin now? Draco asked, placing his arm around his shoulders and leading him down to the boys' 8th year dormitory. I don't know. I was just resorted like 15 minutes ago. Harry laughed as he shook off Draco's arm. Harry and Draco walked into their dorm and walked into a loud cheer from all the occupants. 3 cheers for Harry being a Slytherin! Blaze yelled above all the noise. Everyone yelled and cheered and clapped and stomped their feet on the ground. Harry sat on his bed and beamed. He looked around and saw all the boys plus all the 8th year girls. He finally felt fully accepted into Slytherin house. I wouldn't get comfortable. We're about to go out by the lake until lunch, Theodore said, sending a charm to Harry to knock him off the bed. Oi! Harry threw a pillow at Theodore and laughed, along with everyone else. Harry got up and summoned a coat from his trunk in Severus's room. It was cold. It wasn't cold outside. He needed it because the vampire that bit him was a unique clan. His clan tolerated the sun, but they couldn't be in it for more than an hour at a time. Otherwise, they got an itchy rash. He had learned that from experience. Harry hung the coat over his shoulders and followed everyone outside and down to the lake. They all sat there by the big willow tree and in a lazy circle. Harry sat next to Blaze and Theodore. Harry rested his head on Theodore's lap. Blaze laughed when Theodore slapped Harry's forehead, which Harry, sitting up, just rubbed his sore head. Just because we are friends now doesn't mean you get to laze on me. I had never heard of that. Maybe that is a saying. It sounds familiar. Laze on me. You have a spine of your own. Use it before I break it. Theodore sneered and then laughed at the scared look on Harry's face. Remind me not to mess with you, ever. Harry laughed before flopping down in the middle of the group. He placed the coat over his legs because they were in the sun, but his upper half was in the shade. The group chatted away until they heard a bell that alerted them that lunch was ready. So they made their way up to the Great Hall. Once they stood outside the doors, Harry told them that he was going to wait down in this common room with a simple explanation of feeling sick with all the noise in the room already. Once Harry entered the common room, he looked around and decided to chat with Salazar. So he walked over to the couch and sat down. The fireplace lit up as soon as he sat down. It really was cold down in the dungeons.
Oh, hello, little one,
Severus hissed, smiling down at him from his portrait.
I see you're wearing the brilliant colors of green and silver today. Is that hinting at something?
Yes, I got resorted this morning, sir.
Harry beamed back, proud to finally be in his proper house. Oh, please, call me Sal and Sil. Is that Sly? Sly, there we go. I like that. Sly. I prefer it rather than something former. Salazar. I'm going to call him Sly because I keep on having a mouthful of his name. I'm going to call him Sal because that's what the character calls him. Sal said, raising a hand to stop what Harry was going to say. Okay, Sal, I assure you, I was always meant to be in this house. I just chose my other house because I wanted to make my mom and dad proud. Also, I thought everyone who went into Slytherin turned out evil. I got that from my ex-friend. Harry sighed, looking down at his hands. Why do you have so many ex-friends, little one? The snake hissed, making an appearance in the bottom of the frame. Well, all the Gryffindors loved me, adored me, just because I defeated the Dark Lord Voldemort when I was a year old. I told my best friends that I was gay and I was a vampire. One of them bashed me up, and while the other one watched and called me horrible names. Harry shuddered as he remembered all the horrible names Hermione and Ron had called him that day. That's horrible! Sal yelled. Were they expelled? No, I wouldn't have the guts to tell Headmaster Dumbledore, I reckon. Harry sighed again and slumped back into the chair. I'm sorry, but I haven't asked for your name yet. My name is Jamie. In the human language, my mother named me that because she believed that anyone that had purple-colored eyes should be considered precious and should be loved by all that see the beauty of that type of colored eyes. Jamie hissed. Okay. Curling up on Salazar's lap. How did you find Jamie, Sal? Harry asked, tilting his head as he observed the beautiful eyes that Jamie had. I found her being chased by 2 wild dogs. She was injured, so I took care of her, and she, in turn, became my familiar. Sal beamed with pride as he told the story of how he and his snake found each other. What type of snake is she? Harry asked Sal. We are not sure. Back then, snakes were snakes. If you do some research for us, you might find the answer, Sal said, stroking Jamie's scales. All right. I'll put it on my schedule for a later date, Harry said just as his group of friends entered the common room. We are going back outside again. Harry Draco threw his hands in the air, then placed his hands on his hips in a bossy stance. Okay, I'll talk to you later, Sal. Harry waved goodbye as he picked up his coat and left with his friends. I don't understand. I sometimes lisp without knowing, but when it's the snake talking, I do lisp from time to time. On purpose. They all sat in the same same spots as last time. But Harry sat up, this time with his coat around his shoulders. The group decided to make a hat full of conversation ideas to pass the time. So they all wrote down 2 interests of theirs. First one to be pulled out was food. Everyone looked at Crabbe and Goyle, but they shook their heads. So everyone looked at Draco, who blushed and nodded his head. After a while, they picked the next topic from the hat. The little piece of paper flew out of the hat and landed on the ground. Draco grabbed it and read it aloud. Ducks. Who the hell wrote this down? Draco yelled, ripping the paper up. You all know ducks and food are my weaknesses. Actually, I wrote that because I like ducks too, Harry said. Wait, did I just have an accent? Harry said, blushing as he summoned Henry. This is Henry, my duckling. Almost everyone cooed as Henry appeared in Harry's lap. Harry put up a barrier that went all around the group and placed Henry down in the middle. Draco immediately grabbed him and giggled, and he ran a finger over the yellow fluff. A group passed Henry around slowly and asked Harry all types of questions about Henry, and he answered them. It was about 10 minutes later since Henry joined the group, and Theodore got up and started walking away. Harry was the only one to notice, so he went after his new friend. He caught up pretty fast with his speed and walked beside Theodore, who had his hands in his pockets and his head lowered. What's wrong? Do you want to talk about it? It helps, you know, Harry asked quickly, not wanting to anger or upset Theodore any more than he already seemed to do. Author's note: what's wrong with Theodore? Find out in the next chapter. That's it for this chapter. Yeah, comment, blah, 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 blah. Sadly, my grandpa passed away last week. Sadly? Aw, poor thing. I went to my first ever funeral, and it really shook me up. So please be a bit considerate if I don't update for a while. Thanks for reading and the continued support. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. If I don't, upload for a while, but you know that I'm going, to classes or stuff, please don't ask, where I've been. But, you can ask, is this part done? But that would pretty much be it. I will answer your question, but it just kind of feels like you're hurrying me. But thank you for your concern, though, because a lot of people thought I died one time. But, where was I? Well, there's an ad playing, so I can't really, do anything. Chapter 10. Wait, what time is it? Oh, yeah, we have enough for one more. Chapter 10. Confessions and Dreams. Yeah. Just keep walking for a bit. We'll sit down over there. Theodore pointed to a spot up ahead by the lake. Harry nodded and continued to walk beside Theodore in a comfortable silence. A minute later, Theodore and Harry sat down and looked out across the lake. It was a beautiful day to be outside. The giant squid made an appearance by splashing around his tentacles. Harry pulled the jacket up and covered his head so his whole body was covered with it. He turned to Theodore and stared at the boy. Theodore was biting his bottom lip, it between his teeth, and was biting it. He was fiddling with his fingers as he stared out on the lake with unseeing and unfocused eyes. Harry cleared his throat, and Theodore looked over to Harry. Harry raised an eyebrow and looked expectantly at Theodore. I'm guessing you want to know why I walked off, Theodore asked, looking back out to the lake and back at Harry, who nodded his head in return. I guess I'm afraid that you were going to take my friends away from me. I honestly don't have anyone outside of school. My parents disowned me before they went to
prison, and I live at friends' places until they kick me out," Theodore said, tears forming in his eyes, and then, one after the other, they fell and landed on his hands in his lap. "Hey, it's okay. I won't steal any of your friends away. I know what it's like," Harry whispered calmly and softly as he wiped away Theodore's falling tears. "How could you, the Golden Gryffindor, know what it's like?" Theodore asked with wonder, not with any harshness. "Well, my aunt and my uncle hated my guts. They made me their slave. My uncle, in more ways, was worse than my aunt. So much so that I don't want to go into detail about it because it's horrific. But you can probably guess what might have taken place," Harry said, looking out at the lake with a sad expression. "I guess their behavior rubbed off onto my cousin, and because he bullied me as we grew up. He had a gang of friends. They used to go Harry hunting, and they would turn everyone against me. The Muggle school, or any friends I had would suddenly start distancing themselves away from me." Harry sighed and looked back at Theodore, who made his mouth hanging open with staring the wide eyes at Harry. "That's why I can promise I won't take away any of your friends," Harry said, and put an arm around Theodore's shoulders. Theodore leaned in and smiled. It had been a while since he had made a new friend. It had been even longer since he last confided in someone, let alone a Gryffindor. No, Harry isn't a Gryffindor anymore. He never was and never will be, Theodore thought to himself. "You all better now?" Harry whispered, squeezing his shoulders in a comforting manner. Theodore nodded and stood up, extending a hand to Harry. Once they both on their feet, Theodore gave Harry an unexpected hug. When Harry felt the arms go around him, he froze for a second before wrapping his arms around the taller boy. To say the least, Harry was happy and sad at the same time. Happy for this boy to confide in him and let him see the true Theodore, but sad that he doesn't have a home to call home. Theodore pulled back and rubbed his neck with embarrassment. He looked at Harry and sheepishly smiled at him. "Sorry about that. I am feeling a tad bit emotional right now." Theodore laughed nervously and slowly started walking back to the group. He walked in the same style as he walked away, hands in pockets, head lowered. "That's okay," Harry said from beside him. "Let me know if you need a place to stay during this break coming up." Theodore snapped his head to the side, staring at Harry with wide eyes. "Are you serious?" "Yeah, I know that it's like a couch surf, but in fact, I reckon I've spent at least a month or two where I was homeless," Harry confessed before he elaborated. "It was in our 3rd year. I lived on the streets after I accidentally blew up my uncle's sister." "That was his sister? I thought it was his mum." "Never mind, okay." "I got thrown out of the house with all the belongings and wandered the streets until I finally caught the night bus. The Daily Prophet never printed that I had gone missing, if I remember correctly." Harry sniggered beside Theodore, just as they reached the group. Blaise looked up as Harry and Theodore sat down. He was the only one that wasn't gathered around Henry, and was also the only one who noticed their absence. "Where did you guys go?" Blaise whispered as he scooted closer to the two of them. "Are you both all right?" "Yeah, we are fine," Theodore whispered back. "I just wanted to talk to Harry quickly. I'm glad everyone missed us." All three of them rolled their eyes at that, with smiles on their faces. "So what do we do? What do we want to do?" Harry asked, eyeing out Henry to make sure he was okay, but found him tripping away and running in circles like he usually does when he has energy to burn. "What about school holiday coming up? What do you guys have plans?" Blaise asked to the two of them. "Yeah, I'm cleaning up my house. It got a bit damaged from the storm over the school term. My neighbor sent me an owl stating about the damage there was, and I can't wait to clean it up," Harry told them in a tone of excitement. "You have your own house?" Theodore said in awe and amazement. "You never said that. That's why I don't mind if you come and stay at my place. We just have to clean it up a bit before we sleep." Harry chuckled at Blaise's expression of complete awe. "Can I come visit your place?" Blaise asked with puppy dog eyes. "Sure, I have plenty of room in my house. You can organize with your family when you can come over. Just owl them sometime before the holidays start," Harry told them. The boys kept on talking about the upcoming holidays since the war ended. All the parents agreed that the school terms should be split into 4 terms. Well, duh. Well, it'd be called quarters if you actually look at it. I had a 4-quarter kind of system when I was in high school and in middle school. And terms, yeah, it was a thing, but we mostly went by quarters. So it would be 4 quarters, not terms. But yeah, they got the idea. So they can have more time with their families. And ooh, you hungry there? Stomach? I watched the Alien movies today, so I don't know why I would be hungry. And the Predator ones, and Alien versus Predator. Anyways, let's keep on going. Henry waddled over to Harry. Families, and it just so happened that the first school term was coming up to end in a few weeks, which would be, for me, it would be Thanksgiving. Around Thanksgiving would be the end of our first quarter. Second quarter would be the end of March, May, whatever. Then, no. It would be December, January, February. It would be the end of February, then, April, May. End of May. No. Well, oh yeah, it would be that it was the middle of November, so November, December, January, end of January, February, March, April, middle of April, May, June. There you go. I was like, wait a minute, how am I working this? But it's like 2.5 each term. So they've only been in school for 2.5 months. There you go. If they're doing it like my system. Some knowledge on you. Henry waddled over to Harry and quacked to get his attention. Harry picked him up and stroked him with his other hand. "You hungry? I better send you back now so you can have some dinner," Harry said, before he sent Henry back to the house elves. Everyone apart from Blaise and Theodore booed at Harry sending Henry away. It's time for dinner, you guys. Are you seriously lost track of time? Blaise yelled at them. Harry, Blaise, and Theodore sniggered at the whole group's expression. Disappointment and embarrassment that they couldn't have more time with Henry. So the group got up and walked back up to the Great Hall for dinner. Harry sat down at the table and like usual, the plate and cutlery disappeared from in front of him and to be replaced with a goblet of red blood. The dinner went by pretty calmly. Harry sipped on his meal and made conversation with the group surrounding him. He tried to ignore all the annoying gossip and crazy rumors that circled the hall at dinner. And all too slow, Harry and his friends had finally collapsed into the couches and chairs surrounding the fireplace. Harry sat in front of the fire and let his mind wander. He didn't tune into any of the conversation, even though some of it was about him. His thoughts wandered and wandered until he was fast asleep. Almost falling asleep, sorry. He turned around and saw most of the common room was empty, and only Blaise, Draco, and James remained out of his friends. Harry hadn't realized how late it actually was. He stood up and said goodnight to his 3 friends before leaving to go to Severus's quarters. He arrived outside Severus's quarters and entered tiredly. "Is that you, Harry?" Severus turned around on the couch and saw the tired-looking Harry stumble through the door. Severus stood up and helped his mate to the couch. They laid on the couch together, and they both soaked up the warmth from the fire and each other. "How was your day today?" Severus whispered in Harry's ear, making him shiver. "It was tiring. Too much socializing, in my opinion." Harry yawned and tightened his arms around Severus. "Well, we can go to bed now if you want," Severus prompted, and Harry nodded his confirmation. So Harry and Severus made their way into their bedroom and undressed themselves until they were both in their boxers. When they hopped into bed, Severus cast a charm on their teeth. So their teeth were magically clean, brushed, and even then heated the bed with a warming spell. "Have a good night, Harry." Have a good sleep. Harry yawned with Severus's arms around him. "You too," Severus whispered, and they both fell asleep within 3 minutes. Harry's dream. The tree leaves and sticks broke under his feet as Harry made his way along the path in the dark forest. Harry didn't recognize this place and looked around cautiously as he heard noises in every direction. Harry had been walking for what seemed a century in the dream when he finally made it to a clearing, making his way slowly into the middle. Harry noticed the dark figure started leaning up on the edge of the clearing. He searched for his wand, but couldn't find it anywhere on him. "Hello?" Harry called out, his voice quivering in fear. "Hello? Who's there?" Then it started. Fog rose from the ground as some of the figures stepped forward. With each step the figures took, Harry took 2 in the opposite direction. He kept on walking backwards until his back collided with something. At first he presumed it was a tree, until it was a hand gripped his throat. He pulled him forward to stand in front of the dark figures. One figure stopped. forward and caressed Harry's cheek with a cold hand. That figure then pulled his hood off, and Harry took a second and before he recognized the person. More like vampire. How are you, Harry? Vampire Lord Xavier. Who the fuck is Xavier? Sorry. I was like, wait a minute. Is he a canon person? Like, I didn't know that. I know werewolves are canon. I don't know if vampires are. But Xavier sounds familiar. Have I heard that name before in the series? Asked softly. Did we scare you? Hell yeah, you scared me. Harry chuckled as his throat was released, and Xavier pulled him into a hug. I'm okay at the moment. I was struggling at the start of the term, but I'm handling my instincts better now. Yes, I've been watching you. Xavier and the clan chuckled. Don't take too long with your mate. You could lose your bond if you don't drink from him soon. I know, it's just I don't know how to say or act about this, Harry said frustratedly. I will do it soon, I promise. Good, now go. Your prince awaits your presence. Xavier and the others all disappeared in a flash. Harry startled awake when he felt hands shaking him. Harry, are you okay? You were having a nightmare. No, he was just scared because his jerk of the vampire lord was a dick, you know? I'm saying so many bad words. Okay, Severus asked, his voice full of concern. Harry flung himself out of bed and landed on the floor. He then scrambled back until his back hit the wall, shaking off the last bits of the dream, and he chuckled at himself once he realized where he was. You okay, Harry? Severus asked, getting out of bed and crouching down beside him. Sorry, I had an itch on my foot. Severus asked, getting out of bed and crouching down beside him. He reached out, moved some of the jet black hair from his sweaty forehead. Yeah, I'm okay. It was just my clan contact me and giving me a warning. Harry sighed and pulled on Severus's hand until he was sitting beside him. He could curl into his side and inhale the smell of his mate. What was the warning? What was that warning? Severus asked, with a raised eyebrow. Harry pushed Severus onto his back and straddled his hips. He leaned down and kissed Severus's ear before whispering the warning. Don't wait too long to bite your mate, Harry whispered and pulled back, looking lovingly down at into Severus's eyes to see the love reciprocated back. But to not wait any more then, Severus whispered back, holding onto Harry's hands and giving him a soft squeeze. You realize we would be mated officially then? Harry asked shyly, his vampire side disappearing for a moment to double-check that it was what they both wanted. See, consent, people. This is the chef's kiss. I realize that, but it's not like I can help the fact that I'm destined to be mated to a vampire. What was that accent, though? Okay, anyways. Well, let's do it before I change my mind. Harry smirked, his vampire side back in full blast. All his instincts were on high with the fact that he would be drinking from his mate, and to have his mate underneath him, giving himself to him forever. Harry leaned down and looked over Severus's shoulder, where he would be biting. Severus moaned and arched his back. Okay. Uh-oh. looked ahead. Okay, this is gonna be bad. He pulled back and looked into Severus's eyes before leaning back down and biting gently into his shoulder. Severus hissed as his fangs pierced his shoulder, but soon started to moan as the feeling of so much blood started to leave him. He started to struggle, then he felt his heart getting weaker and weaker. He tried to push Harry away, but he wasn't going anywhere. "Harry, please, stop!" Severus whispered out quietly, struggling to find his voice. Hearing his mate in distress, Harry pulled back and licked the wounds as they could heal properly. Harry bit his wrist and pushed it to Severus's lips. Drink my blood, and then we'll be mated." Okay. Harry whispered as he stroked Severus's hair with one hand and letting his mate drink. After Severus had enough of Harry's blood to find some strength to talk, he told Harry that he needed water and wanted to go back to bed. Your stomach can't handle water just yet, Sev," Harry whispered as he picked him up and placed him softly on the bed, under the covers and crawling in after him. "But you do need a good rest. I'll contact the headmaster in the morning if you can't work tomorrow." "Mm-hmm," Severus agreed as he closed his eyes and falling into a deep sleep as he let his body change into a vampire so he could become one with his mate. Harry smiled and cuddled up to his mate, thinking about his new life, all the new pluses. Thinking about all the new things that he could now do with his mate. Thinking about able to sense the other's mood, reading each other's mind if they had a good relationship, and teleporting straight to them, even through the toughest and best wards. He smiled and stroked Severus's hair before falling into a gentle sleep to dream about his clan and talk to them. Next chapter will feature Harry talking to his clan in real life. Thanks for reading, comment, vote, and all that jazz. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it here. And thank you guys for watching. It has been fun, and, and all that jazz. And please, 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 if you ever need someone like what Harry did for Theodore, well, not like rooming, because I don't have room, and this is my mother's house, not mine. But if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Like always, I do remind you that what is that accent? Whatever. I am always here because I am here for you guys. You want me here, and I'm glad you want me here, because some people don't. Well, guys, if I can get my special video up anytime like next week, you'll be able to find out what I'm planning. Literally anything else. So what was I about to say? That's right. If you know how to work an Acer computer, because I'm having a problem with setting up my microphone, because when I set it up to be the microphone through my computer, it doesn't stay the microphone through my computer. It always stays at the microphone by the, what is it called? By the camera. And I can't fix it, which is pissing me off, like that. So, I have literally been trying to scream at my computer for the past... That was my lips, by the way. 7 hours? Maybe, no. Yeah, about 7 hours. And, well, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Comment down below which was your favorite part or what you're going to do this summer. Basically, I'm going to do nothing except get my hair done a different color, wacky colors. You don't know yet. But be happy, be healthy, and always be loving. I love you guys so much. Bye-bye.